in all likelihood, you have heard of the term post-mortem, which is synonymous with conducting an autopsy. And in business, we use this phrase to describe the process of looking back on a failed project or a failed initiative to understand what went wrong, how can we avoid that failure in the future, what can we learn from the situation, and that sort of thing. It's about looking back on something that didn't work out as expected and looking for opportunities to learn from the experience so that we don't necessarily have to go through that same failure again in the future. So that is post-mortem. Pre-mortem is different. It's the same basic premise, but we try to conduct this exercise before we initiate the project or startup or initiative. The idea is to conduct the same kind of thinking, but without necessarily going through the painful process of experiencing it. So for example, let's say you're building a new product or you're planning to build a new product. Well, to conduct a pre-mortem, what you might do is sit down with your team and start to analyze if this project was to fail, if we were going to launch this into the market in 6 to 12 months from now, and it turned out it completely bombed, it totally failed. Well, if that happened, what are the likely causes of that failure? This is a very powerful exercise for trying to anticipate challenges much more effectively. It's a really powerful way, actually, to address the issues around opportunity cost and committing to things too early and confirmation bias, because when we conduct a pre-mortem, we open up greater possibilities for discovering issues even before they happen. And part of this really comes down to framing things correctly, because when you sit down with other people and you're seeking outsider perspectives, well, as talked about in a book like The Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick, people tend to try to be supportive. They try to be socially polite. They want to encourage you. But the problem here is you're trying to get genuine feedback about how your idea might go wrong. So by framing this as a pre-mortem and making it clear that you're trying to imagine if your startup or if your product failed, how would that happen? Well, you set people up to be more honest and more objective. They appreciate the fact that you're genuinely trying to understand what might go wrong. So by framing this as a pre-mortem of an analysis of what might be eventual failure, you really incentivize them to be brutally honest. In effect, you're setting up a mystery. You're setting them up as the person trying to solve a difficult problem where you're saying, I think this might fail. Can you identify what the eventual cause might be? And under that particular scenario, they're much more likely to be honest and to provide you with an objective perspective that may turn out to be very informative in helping you avoid future challenges.